Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Don't my girls look magnificent? Oh, and they smell even better. They have just been to their fairy dog mother, and she has been giving them nice sort of baths and shampoos. And to celebrate, we are going to have fun today. And we are going to start with something that someone sent me. And I'm going to show it. And then later on, I'm going to get Sean to post it. It is Meg's baby's baby bump. Oh! While we're at it, maybe I should celebrate. Can I? Oh, let me see. I don't think this dress, sorry, isn't going to be stretching enough for me to really celebrate properly. Sorry, but I'm going to give it a womanful shot. Oh, no, it needs to be nicely positioned between my two, shall we say, features that are a little bit bigger than the fried eggs that Meghan has on her pavement. So let us plunge in with what free speech says. The photo of the bear bump is clearly a fake attachment. The average person with normal eyesight can see the straps and where it meets the skin. Is the photo a way of her admitting what she did? We just have to look and learn. She'll never say a word. Well, actually, I'm going to get rid of my fake bump. Sorry. Oh, there's only so much one can do for duty before it becomes too onerous. Well, I have to say, as I'm looking at this photograph, it strikes me that it is absolutely a fake. And one could ask, what on earth possessed Meghan to post something that is so obviously a fake? I mean, it's not even the same colour as the rest of her. I think I pointed that out yesterday. But if I didn't, I'm pointing it out today. But I think I did point that out yesterday. I had no idea until I was sent this that these things are so readily available. Turns out there's quite a roaring trade in them. How many Megsy babies are there in the world is the question one has to ask. I wouldn't have thought that many, but I suppose people use prosthetics for various reasons. Will she say that it's a fake? She doesn't need to say actions speak louder than words, because I am going to read out what someone else says about it. Maria Kovacs says, "Dear Lady C and precious pups, loving your intro music." Thank you. People actually often do comment on the fact that they like the intro music. I choose it myself. And fresh, sharp look today. That would have been the other day, obviously. Somebody hasn't told Meghan that black, pregnant, stretching tummies skin gets lighter, not darker. That's a bit of a boo-boo, isn't it? Poor Megsy baby has not understood that pregnant women of colour, especially when they're 43% Nigerian, this baby bump doesn't get darker, it gets lighter. One tear left eye. This is actually so bizarre, we have to make it entertaining. Rachel says Meghan forgot to show baby Betty's scam, S-C-A-M, scam. Oh, Rachel, where do you get that word from? Scam. Oh, my heart is palpitating. Oh, I'm going to do a Meghan. Oh, I'm going to do a Meghan. My heart is palpitating. And, oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I've got to speak in a whisper. And then my hands. And, oh, I've got to touch my face. And I need to keep on touching my nose as well. I've got to touch my face. And I've got to, that man loves me so much. And I'm just so fabulous. And, oh, it's so wonderful that you ask all these questions about me. And it's just marvelous that you comment on me. Meghan forgot to show baby Betty's scam on her mood board. I mean scan. Oh, I'm so glad you corrected yourself. Isn't it awful when one's finger slips and speaks the truth? I mean, sorry, tells a lie. Well, maybe the surrogate in Colorado forgot to give it over to Rachel. Is Betty's birth mommy Rachel's niece? Lots of people ask that question. The one thing I have learned in life is that people who are untrustworthy usually don't trust anybody, especially people close to them. Oh, I have no doubt that Ashley was reeled in the way Harry has recently been reeled in again. H, come and get your favourite reward. However, I don't think that Meghan or anybody of her characteristics would be dumb enough, naive enough, or trusting enough. Because remember, people who aren't trustworthy don't trust. To actually trust a member of her family. Remember the family that she so loves? Sorry, my mouth keeps on slipping. Why is it that my mouth thinks loathe and love have the same significance to certain people? I question that. But no, if there's a surrogate, I would be very surprised that it were her niece Ashley, who also has her own career. But you never know with people, do you? Darlene says, Megsy baby looked like Octomom. Yeah, didn't she just? And I think at that stage she was only 6 weeks pregnant. And we, of course, are such fools that we have completely believed the whole narrative. I was pregnant for 18 months with both Archie and Lily, and I had a miscarriage in between. Yeah, I'm just so special. It's really difficult when you can't get the size right, isn't it? But then there's a virtue to it. You have everybody commenting and speculating. So how much of that is deliberate is the question one needs to ask. And how much of it is just inadvertent arrogance that is so out of touch with reality that she just doesn't know when to stop or indeed when she shouldn't have started at all. I am Cordelia says. It's clear she's online paying attention to what's being said about her. I couldn't agree more. Let me continue the question though. Her pregnancy photo was dark and looked conspicuous. This only heightens suspicions. What's also glaring is the fact that there are no friends or family around her, Harry and children, in any of these photos. Well, when you're especially a unit as we are, we are the mini Sussexes. We are a family of 4. There's the man who loves me so much. There are the 2 children that he gave me. And there's me. We don't need anyone else. And why would we have anyone else? As it is, it's bad enough that I actually have to share the limelight with those other 3 schlumps. Sorry, my beloved husband and our children, the ones that I birthed. I carried each of them for 18 months. Each of them. I'm just so noble and self-sacrificing. One tail left eye. Well, without a doubt, she pays close attention to what people say about her. And then she rebuts what people say about her. Look, those terrible stories about me being pregnant when I was pregnant those terrible stories about me being pregnant when I was pregnant for 18 months each time. Of course I've got to rebut them, and I've got to be subtle, and I've got to be clever, and I've got to do it so that nobody realizes that I look at anything. Because remember, I've said that I only have a look at 1% of anything that's said about me or written about me. So I've got to sort of be subtle about it. So I act as if I don't know anything, and then I just rebut everything. And wasn't I clever? Since I'm a proud, confident woman of colour, 43%, Nigerian, used to be a star of suits, I had to show that I have a brown belly. Isn't it awful, though, that the brown that they made didn't quite match the brown and the bronzer on my face? And my arms were significantly lighter and very thin. You notice how thin my arms are. They're just so Ozempic-like. But that belly's brown because I'm a proud, confident woman of colour. We're dealing with insanity. Lovely Skull says, "My lord, I feel sad for those sweet children. Harry and Meghan are destroying their lives before they even get started." Well, children who are brought up by nannies, and I speak with some authority on the subject, usually find it far easier to survive toxic parents than those who are subjected to the toxicity 24/7. Nannies can be a tremendous advantage in life, and I would have thought that Archie and Lily benefit greatly from having nannies. And let's remember, I'm very busy. I don't have time to be cooking every day. I do present myself as the Wanda goddess of the kitchen, and I do sort of fruit plates for television. But otherwise, no, I can't be bothered with all of that rubbish. Let's leave it to the staff. And let's remember, we don't coddle staff. No. Also, bad parents who bring their children up with good values can actually still do a good job of it. Now, if Harry and Meghan are bringing up those children with good values, those children will benefit from those values. Remember what Meghan said? Manners, 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 manners. And she certainly looks as if she has the children well terrified. But if they are well terrified in terms of being well behaved in a constructive sense, that's actually possibly to their advantage. I don't think anyone will know until they are about 18 to 22, maybe even older. Then, oh goodness gracious, Joan Crawford is going to stop spinning in her grave because Megsy baby has taken over as the dearest mommy of them all. Carol and Puppy, love it, says, Lady C, all they have to do is ask has-been to authorise the doctors involved to sign the paperwork, the way the doctors signed all the other paperwork for all the other royals. It's simple and has nothing to do with the law. Thank you for that, Carol and Puppy. You are agreeing with what I have said. But it doesn't have to be Harry. It can be Megsy baby. Either of them can authorise. And they should. And they won't. Because they're vicious, they're malicious, and they don't realise that this would be a very clever move. But it would even gain them admiration, and it would make everybody who had doubted that those pregnancies were pregnancies, got that the wrong way around, that those pregnancies were pregnancies, everybody would have to eat crow. So they would actually be winning on all fronts. Now, if they can't win on any front, why do we think that might be, is the question one has to ask oneself. No? Kathleen Rogers says, Dear Lady C, might you have any thoughts on how the royal family feels about YouTube channels and the Mexit community's incessant commentary on Markle and her multi-million-dollar handbag? Do you think that they feel appreciative of our support or annoyed by the scrutiny and speculation about their erstwhile relations' antics? P.S. If you ever need someone to watch Mickey and Aurora, I will grab my passport and be on the next flight to Castle Goring. Thank you very much for that, Kathleen Rogers. Thank you. To answer the question seriously, I'm going to have to answer it in a sort of obscure way by making a few points. Doubtless, had Harry and Meghan not created so many terrible problems for the royal family and been so nasty about the royal family, and in particular two of the main members of it, namely the King and Catherine, and the consequences of Harry and Meghan's vile behaviour not been as damaging as they have been to the royal family its reputation, the Commonwealth, the reputation of this country, the health of the King and the Princess of Wales and the late Queen, they would doubtless have thought, oh, I do wish these people would just leave off and just let sleeping dogs lie. However, because the consequences of Harry and Meghan's behaviour have been so extreme and dreadful, my reading of the situation is that it is a combination of appreciation, relief, and quite frankly, and before I go to the quite frankly, I should say, and the relief would include the fact that they don't have to do anything. We do it all for them in terms of taking up for them. So they don't have to call time on the game that Harry and Meghan will play. We call time on it, which is a relief. But there has got to be, on some level, very mixed feelings about the whole thing. Amidst those mixed feelings is the awareness, doubtless, that the public are with the royal family, that exposure, as and when and if it comes, will actually vindicate the royal family and unmask Meghan and Harry for what they are. And let's remember, that is whether the children were indeed born by surrogates and born of surrogates, or that Meghan was simply faking it, fake baby bumps, padding, etc. So either way, the royal family is in a far better and more vindicated situation than they would have been had the public not been aware of this, and had all of this groundswell not emanated from the public. It didn't come from the press. It didn't come from the cognoscenti. It came from the public. But of course, what my understanding is that the royal family have been doing is they, by and large, don't even discuss Harry and Meghan. They go along with their business on a daily basis, ignoring Harry and Meghan's existence. They do sometimes get annoyed, they do sometimes get concerned, but insofar as it's possible, they starve them of the oxygen of attention and get on with their lives, their being the royal family's lives, and don't react to Harry and Meghan by and large, don't get sucked into their games by and large, and understand that when the chickens come home to roost, if ever, that the public will have been the ones who shone the light of recognition upon the whole of the matter. Sorry. So I think it's, as with many things in life, it's mixed, a mixed blessing. Because, of course, the royal family will also be aware of the fact that amidst all of this speculation is the question, why will not the royal family take steps to bring this farce to an end? There are things they could do, which they are hesitant to do, namely the royal website and one or two other things which I do not think it would be fruitful to specify. And people are very aware in palace circles, and many people in palace circles are calling for them to be stripped of their titles and for them to be somehow removed from the line of succession, and for the children to also be sidelined. But that creates such political hot potatoedom that nobody wants to hold those hot potatoes in their hand, and will not do so, in my opinion, until it becomes absolutely necessary to do so. So I hope that answers the question. As with many things in life, it's mixed. Anne Thompson says, I don't know about other women, but my boobs grew bigger than my belly for the first few months when pregnant. Other women have made similar observations, and all my friends and I make the comment that biology being what it is, not only do a woman's boobs get bigger when she's pregnant, but as she gets older, they get bigger as well. So I hope that answers the question. Well, it's not really a question, it's an observation. And Meghan's boobs, of course, didn't get bigger until after the baby was born. How does that one work again? Oh dear. Very steroidy behaviour, or sterile behaviour, or lactating behaviour of her body. Many ways to skin a cat. Susan Fritcher says, I agree with your commentary. I would like to know if you think Henry Windsor knows he's being made a fool of, or is he truly that daft? I think he's truly that daft. When the marriage doesn't go as well as it's gone, and at times, and when he is at a loose end, which he often is, and especially when he comes here and he is confronted with the total barrenness of his life now, and not only what he has given away, but what he cannot pick up back in this country. He has moments of insight, but do they include that he's been made a fool of? Never underestimate the arrogance of a dolt. And never underestimate the arrogance of an arrogant dolt. Harry has never been known for modesty, for having insight, for anything smacking of an awareness of his limitations. And Meghan has pumped him up over the years with how brilliant he is. He doesn't think he's been made a fool of. He thinks everybody who doesn't worship at his and her altar is the fool. That's how that one works. Interesting, no? Margaret Fraser says, read your comments about Diana. I can now see why Harry was attracted to Meghan. He's made the point himself. Looks like they were cut from the same cloth. Harry's made that point himself. Perhaps Harry was correct when he said his wife was like his mother. He's made the point himself, meaning he could see similarities in the ways in which they could both be ruthless to people who don't worship at their altar. Oh, that's only one of the many similarities he's seen. He's seen how humane Meghan is. He's seen, now Diana did genuinely have humane instincts. And Diana did talk up a very good number about caring for the underdog, because Diana genuinely regarded herself as an underdog. She wasn't a fake underdog in terms of her self-perception, the way Meghan is. Meghan knows she's no underdog and never was. She knows she was spoiled rotten and she's an overprivileged hussy. Let's put it that way. But she's played the, oh, I'm such an underdog. I had to work selling bananas at the age of 6 months on stalls outside of our house, our big house, in a chic suburb of Hollywood. And you notice how I managed to get in, that I'm privileged at the same time that I get in, how underprivileged I am. Am I not clever? So clever. I can pop them out one tail left eye whenever I need to. I can also pop out the false claims as and when I need to. But yes, Diana had many virtues that Meghan has simulated, and Diana had many failings that Meghan accords with quite naturally. I have often said, and I'm sure I'm right, people don't only fall in love with what they like about someone. They fall in love with the person's other side. I'm sure I'm right there. Somebody who's too perfect, you would not be comfortable with. Somebody who shares your failings, or who has failings that are reminiscent of your past experience. Now, that's someone you're going to be really comfortable with and really attracted to, especially if the carnal side of things is as accomplished as evidently exists in the county of Sussex. Shall we leave it at that? I think you've got my drift. I hope you've got my drift. If you haven't, ask me and I can elaborate down the line. RGW says, with Prince William's level of IQ, SQ, EQ, and AQ, especially adversity quotient, he is well able to handle the Meghan Markles of this world. Poor things all have a sameness about them, simply different names. That's a very good observation. William has the perceptiveness of somebody who is intelligent, thinks things through, has faced unpleasant facts, and did it from a young enough age to have absorbed the important lesson to be learned, which is that you need at all times to judge and assess situations of their merit, not of your desire. William certainly knows about the adversity quotient. Harry, of course, doesn't even know what the word adversity means. But then why would he? Harry was not the child that Diana leaned upon. She leant upon William. William is the one who used to push tissues underneath the door as she was freaking out. Harry? No. Diana didn't have sufficient respect for his intelligence or his stability. Let's remember that. And yes, this has set William up perfectly, because William has always been able to spot the Meghan Markles a mile off. He spotted this Meghan Markle a mile off. From the word go, William knew, there's something fishy here. Don't like it, the smell. No. No. Something very fishy was going on, and he picked it up immediately and acted upon it. Pity Harry was sniffing in different areas, and we leave it at that. GB says, the UK is sometimes a law-abiding country. However, the Harkle children should not have titles because it has not been proved that they were born of the body, etc. We are all waiting for proof. If proof has not been provided, they should not have the titles. At the very least, the Harkles should be taken off the royal website. Charles has only himself to blame for his and Camilla's low favourability ratings on the UK YouGov polls. Charles scored 61% favourability, and the monarchy in general scored lower. Only 51% say the monarchy is good for Britain. Queen Elizabeth II used to score 83% favourability. Very telling. A pity Charles can't be sacked. Well, this is a very interesting comment, and I have to say I do not agree with some of it. First of all, I'm old enough to know and remember, and of course this is my subject, so I've studied it from even when I was too young to remember what was going on. It was going on. For instance, the Lord Altrincham, I leave that as something to dangle. The Queen at times was not that popular, and the monarchy at times was not that popular. In particular, in certain phases. So the royal family is well used to the ebbs and tides of popularity. But I will make the point, anybody in public life who has a favourability score of 61% is doing excellently. The United States President, if he has a much lower score, is regarded as being covered in approbation. We should have a prime minister that has a 61% favourability score. We don't. We haven't for a very long time, even when prime ministers have been popular. So let's look at things dispassionately and put them in their proper context. I agree that the Harkles should be taken off the royal family website, at the least. And I think that they should not only be taken off the website, but it should be made even clearer than it has been made. And it has been made pretty clear that they do not represent the royal family in any way, shape, and form. That, I think, could be made even clearer. The monarchy at the moment has a 51% favourability rating. The Queen got older, her favourability rating got higher. That was partly because people knew she couldn't last forever, and people began to appreciate the fact that she had given most of her life, more years than most people had lived, to the welfare of the country. Charles has only been king for a very short time. She was queen for many, many years, 70 years. That's a huge difference. But I actually think Charles is doing pretty well. He's not perfect. He certainly should get rid of Harry and Meghan off the royal family website, and they should certainly stop connecting them to links to the Sussexes. I mean, that's just such stupidity. It's not only naive, it's stupid, it's counterproductive. And there is no good reason for doing it. Oh, I know their reason for doing it, but it's not a good reason. And there is not necessarily totally the royals. It is upon the advice of certain members of staff, upon whom the royal family will rely, and sometimes they shouldn't. I leave it at that. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Okay? Thank you so much. Take good care and Godspeed. Bye-bye. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye.